This video is going to show you how to easily solo the GM this week. For that reason alone, make sure that you hit subscribe if you haven't already. So, for this run we're using a loadout that's going to be an easy approach for most people to complete this GM so that you can get an Adept Slammer sword solo. But I do recommend that you farm it in a team if you can. But if you don't want to and you want to test your skills and you want to solo it, whatever, then this is a good loadout to do that with. So we're using Celestial Nighthawk on a solo hunter. We're using a Kinetic Tremors Overload Pulse Rifle, an Unstoppable Bow, Tyranny of Heaven, and we're using the exotic rocket launcher GJALLARHORN. Now the reason why we're using GJALLARHORN is that it has Overload Rocket, which there's Overload champions in this. The thing about it is though, even though Galley might not be as good or as powerful as some other rockets like Dragon's Breath or even Apex Predator for that matter, it's really good this season on Overload champs, and it's just really accessible to use for both ad clear, single target damage, built-in tracking, being able to double rocket a champ. It's got a lot of things going for it in this. Like, look at the damage we end up doing here, right? We can easily double rocket a champ. I know Apex Predator can do this also, but I think for accessibility this is really good. Now with this first instance you want to only kill one overload and the mini boss. However, GJALLARHORN indirectly killed some of the enemies, which means an extra additional overload will spawn. Now if you don't get the second overload to spawn, don't worry about it, you can move on forward. But for me, this did happen. I couldn't be bothered resetting my run, so I'll just kill all the enemies. It's fine. I've got GJALLARHORN, and you'll see how easy it is to deal with the overloads anyways. That's why we're standing at this entrance, by the way, for cover. I know that if I'm directly hit by an overload I won't die, but I almost will. That's when you gotta back up. So we're just gonna kill some of these enemies behind. We'll also go for ammo. We may as well just kill them all now at this stage, just in case we get ammo. We'll get us done this overload. We'll use a super because we don't need a super anytime soon yet, so we'll use it. Yeah, so I'll finish off the remaining ads. Let's hope we get a brick, which I believe we do. And they've buffed Galley in terms of how much ammo it now has. So it now holds 9 rockets. A little bit better than what it used to be in terms of ammo. So it's good that way. And I found in this run I was generally getting enough heavy to deal with things. There was only a couple of instances where I was like, okay, I don't have any ammo now. And that wasn't, like I say, often. As long as you got a heavy ammo finder on, then you should be good. So with the elevator section, positioning is important. Map rotation is very important because you can die so quick. Even on a Solo 3.0 class, even with Tier 10 Resil, even with all that stuff, you can still die really quickly. Because if you make the wrong decision, pop your healing aid when you shouldn't, or something like that, you're going to die quick. So we'll first kill the initial Scions. Don't scan that ghost until you're ready, right? Then what you're going to do is equip Galley, get the scan, run over to right or left, it's up to you. We're going to wait for that Scion spawn, one Galley to clear out that first spawn, and then maybe bow a couple of the rest of the enemies. Right, then another Galley when the shielded enemies spawn in, because even though it's only 3 Scions, that'll turn into 6 really quick. So then we're going to get behind a pillar because that's your safety, right? And then we'll throw as many orbs as we can until all the shields are down. We'll pop a healing nade now because that's the critical time to do it. Whereas a lot of you would have just popped a healing nade on the first phase when the sound spawned up, which would have probably been the wrong move. Use it as a backup. You don't have to go on this sort of kill chain with the healing nade all the time. Sometimes it's just a backup nade, right? And that's exactly what that was for, because the phalanxes, sometimes they can obey with you. Sometimes they can behave, sometimes they won't. So if they don't behave, get a healing nade, pop behind cover, because whilst that's happening, the void orbs are going to come for you. And 2 of them will kill you. 1 of them won't, but if you're already weakened by phalanxes, you would probably get cleaned up by that void orb. So you've got to be careful. But once you get them scions and the phalanx down, it's easy from there. You're going to have a phase 2. For phase 2, you want a super, so don't super the mini-boss. It would be a mistake. Even though you will get your super back, you wouldn't get it back quick enough to want it for when you need it. So strategize when you're using your golden guns, because it's a very powerful, potent thing. The thing about the golden gun is it's not going to give you damage resistance like, say, Behemoth or like a Roman super would that you see me often use in GMs. If you've never saw me do that, then you're probably not around long enough to have seen that the amount of resistance you get from Roman super. So that's one minor point against it, but obviously it's not meant to be a Roman super. So you have to use it for single target damage in mind, of course, but use it against the target that's annoying to you. Phase 2, we'll pop a healer nade this time, actually, just to go on the kill chain, because I'm confident enough that we kill all the scions. Because it just works. It just works really well for this. So we killed all scions. We'll go for an orb right away. The quicker the better, because we've still got restoration going. We'll break a shield and pop super. Make sure you get your crate and kill one of the phalanxes. The sooner you do that, the better, because it just makes the whole thing flow nicer. Because if you have got 2 phalanx chasing you and the knight, the taken knight, then it just makes it that little bit more harder. You have to do more map rotation. Then you might, get booped by the phalanx. If you get booped by the phalanx, you're probably dead by then. All right, you're probably gone. But don't worry about spamming too much galley. Spam it to stay, just to make it smooth. I've got 2 rockets left, but that's fine. There's no what's known as like I would refer it to as critical moments. This is a critical moment to get them phalanxes down. Once they're down, it's relaxing. It's relaxing now probably until... It's probably relaxing now until the double taken phalanx phase on the Ogre section. Anywhere up until then can be done with primary only. So even if you didn't have heavy, you can do everything up until then without primary. At that point though, you would have wanted heavy, but you will get heavy by then. You automatically will. So don't be afraid to spam it. Now I'm using a different dodge, and there's a reason for this. The reason for this is because the Acrobat's dodge is a longer cooldown. I'm aware of it. And it just adds Radiant. Well, Radiant... This season it might not sound so good, but it really is. Like this season we're spoiled. We have Radiant via crits. This won't always be the case. And just being able to, from cover... get Radiant without doing anything other than doing a dodge is very powerful, because Radiant does stack with Nighthawk. So it's actually quite a smooth combo that you can do. Like, so you see you stun a champ, you can Acrobat's dodge, super, then, super the champ, or boss damage on Kali. Well, it's not Kali, but it literally is the same boss as Kali though, isn't it? From this corrupted boss. So it's the same thing, isn't it? But you'll see when I get to the boss fight, as I say. I didn't need the use case for gamblers, and I didn't really need... You could have made an argument for Marksman's dodge to dodge reload galley, but when would you ever be shooting more than 2 rockets? If you're using more than 2 rockets on any champ, you're using too many probably, because 2 rockets max you should be spending on one champ. You can get away with using 1. If you get a debuff off and then get a stun with your pulse and then use 1 rocket, by the time the Wolfpack rounds has ended, the champ's probably just about dead. Right? So if you really wanted to be ammo conservative, you could just spend 1 rocket per overload if you wanted, and that would be totally fine. I do recommend using Galley on these Arcanites, because these Arcanites are annoying. All right, they just annoy you. Okay, so we took down the Arcanites with Galley, and we've got a brick there. So we're down. We now have 6. There's 2 unstoppable champions here. So we're going to try and work on this Knight. I just got a stun there. Obviously, whenever you're trying to do damage with Galley, try and make sure you at least have Radiant procced to get the damage boost, so that you don't have to waste as much ammo. That's also another way to conserve ammo, is to just make sure that when you fire your rocket, you're getting the most damage out of it per shot. Because Galley doesn't do... I mean, it does a bit of damage in this because there's Solar Surge, there is Overload Rocket, you know, but anything to help Galley out is nice, because obviously it's not doing what Dragon's Breath does, but I think it's technically better than Dragon's Breath for solo and champs, because it's such a simple interaction of aim down sights, stun champ. You can stun him with the pulse or the rocket, whichever, and just double rocket or even one, like I just said. And that's an actual easy way for people to solo this, right? Whereas with the Dragon's Breath, no tracking there, does a lot for you, but if you at all miss that shot, and say the rocket is on the floor, right, igniting, it's not doing the actual damage it should be because the champ's walking away from it. You've got to stick that champ with it. So in this case, you would stun champ first with gun, with pulse, then whip out the Dragon's Breath and then do it like that. But like I said, just for the accessibility of it is really good. The one downside to this layout, and there's only one that I can think or find to nitpick. The nitpick is that it doesn't involve an exotic primary. And exotic primaries, as we know, deal 40% increased damage over legendary counterparts. So that is the only thing that I can say that, okay, that's one minor thing about it. So if you want to use an exotic primary, here's my recommendations. Either Malfeasance, Polaris Lance, or Tiku's Divination. I would honestly recommend Tiku's Divination, because Polaris Lance isn't a champ weapon, not this season. Even though you might think it is, it isn't. What stops the champs is the fact that it ignites the enemies, and on an ignition you get a champ stop. You stop an unstoppable. The thing about it is, though, a ignition stop on a champ is different to a champ stop with a weapon. So a champ stop with a unstoppable bow is a full stop where the champion stops hitting you entirely for the 5 seconds that they are stunned, or whatever seconds it is. A ignition stop isn't quite the same. You still stun them for increased damage, but they still shoot at you. This can be quite deceptive, and you could think that you've stunned them, but in basically saying that you're safe to then do damage, and you are and you aren't. They regain consciousness between that stun when it's an ignition stop with Polaris. So Polaris is fantastic at range, but if you mess up the taken phalanx champs on the Ogre section with Polaris, it becomes a bit of a nightmare because you haven't got a full stoppable weapon. You have to stun them with the ignitions, which means 3 crits. Now, if that phalanx is 10 meters off you and you don't get the crits quick enough, or you miss and one of them's a body shot, you won't get the stun and the champ will kill you. So that's a huge weakness for Polaris, but that's its only weakness, but it is a weakness nonetheless. Tiku's Divination doesn't have that weakness because it's a unstoppable bow. So when you stun him, you can stun him at 5 meters, 30 meters, 6 meters, or right up close. It doesn't matter. You'll still stun him and you're safe at the very least. So that's my recommendation. Is Tiku's is slightly safer for stunning unstoppables, and it's kind of important that you do it because you want plat. It's so easy to skip the champs, but don't, because you won't get the weapon, the slammer, the Adept sword. So you really need to make sure that you're getting plat, and it's so easy to lose it. Like, I could have lost it before. I killed my first overload and another one spawned in. Now some of you would have just left that champ and went to the next area. If you do that, you miss plat, because when a champ has appeared, yes, that champ is then counted for platinum rank. There are some outliers for this, and sometimes you can skip a champ in GMs, but Corrupted has been a weird, it's always been a weird GM for Clat. Don't take your chances with Corrupted. Just kill the champ. It's as simple as that. Because there might be a case where later on in the GM, the champ falls off map, which I'll point that out, as that's a high probability. And if you don't tag that champ, you will not get plat. Therefore, your solo is worthless, because you won't get the weapon. And that's what we're really doing this for. So we're going to get a stun on this unstoppable, and then crouch. The reason why we crouch on these stairs is that it actually is a mini exploit to stop being teleported between the Taken realm and the Ogre realm, the Hive realm. Now this is a very particular thing. You have to remain crouched. You cannot stand up. This is where you head glitch the stairs. So we're basically head glitching the stairs. But this means that we've guaranteed that we've killed the Hive champ. There's one Hive unstop. There's two Taken unstops. Now, if you miss the Hive unstop and you get ported, the Hive unstop's going to keep spawning at the back of the map, and you're going to find it difficult to kill him. This is why we use this mini exploit to make sure that we do get unstopped. Because as you get here, there's three locations for the champ to spawn. Mid, left, or right. I got right. I'm very lucky. Now, if it was mid, I would have still got him because I'm using the exploit. But say I wasn't, you could be out of position. The champ could be out of position. And if you miss this Hive unstop, and he keeps spawning at the back of the map, it's going to cost you time. You're going to be annoyed because the mini boss is going to be shooting at you whilst you look for the unstop. I'm sure we've all been there where that's happened. So don't let that happen to you. At this point, we're just remaining crouched, and we're going to kill the Hive unstop, the Hive mini boss. Because once you do that, which is critical you do this, because you don't want to go back to the Hive realm after all this is said and done. You want to finish up in the Taken realm. That needs to be the last boss you kill, because on the other rotation all the Hive enemies remain here, and there's arc shielded knights. That will elevate your run so much, and you'll want to use heavy on those knights. You'll want to, because they'll be annoying to you, but then you end up wasting heavy as a result. So make sure that you do it in this fashion. If you do it in the other, if you do it Hive realm last, you're doing it wrong. I don't see anyone on solos doing it that way. You always do it like this. Taken realm last, Hive realm first. So now what we need to do is bait these unstoppables. Now what you need to understand is we can't stand out there at all, because there's an actual additional streaker that spawns when you kill the Hive mini boss first over the Taken one. So we can't stand out there at all. So if you want to stand out there, then that means you've got to leave the Hive mini boss up. So that's going to complicate your run. So instead do it like this. Bait the unstoppables to you. Get a super kill on the first one. Hopefully both of them don't push. But I made it so that I jump up in the air, make them see me, so that they will actually push you. We'll get Acrobat's dodge first, because we only got one rocket left. Right, we'll get a stun, and then we'll go back behind one of these pillars. So the unstop still sort of knows where I am. I do have a plan B option, so don't worry about it. But the Ogre behind us is the Taken Ogre is shooting us. This is my plan B. This is my plan B because he can kill you, or you can almost certainly kill you, but he can't blast you into a wall. Because the shield blast off certain champs will penetrate walls, and some walls it won't. Right? Which most of you won't really know of that, but it just depends on the wall and the area. Like this, look at that. He can't hit us. Which, if it was anywhere else, he probably could. So this is your safe zone. Because we're playing it like this because we have no heavy left. But this was one of the only instances where we struggle for it. And the champ's almost finishable. Problem is, though, he's backing up to where the Solar Knights are. So I can't go in there at all now. So ideally, I need to kill him right now. Which I will. We do that by re-aggroing him. Right? By strafing in and out. You know. Once after he's been stunned, to re-aggro, let the champ see you. So now they're both Taken unstops are killed. We can just move on with this. There's a heavy brick dropped up top, so we're going to be able to go and get that. Now there may well be heavy ammo drops in mid on the Taken Realm. Don't go for them. No matter how desperate you are, don't go for them, because you're going to die getting them. Now, you could kill all the streakers in the room and go and pick up the ammo, but that would take you so long that it's not even worth doing. You would literally be here 5 minutes killing all the streakers. Because they're tanky and you got no heavy, and we're not using exotic primary. So I would just skip it. Any heavy you can pick up, pick it up, of course. But other than that, just leave it. There might be heavy in mid, there might not be, but we're going to get more opportunities for heavy anyways. And this next room, I get so much heavy. It's really good. You can sneak past the streaker, of course. We have no super, but we're going to aggro these 2 unstops. Right, we're first going to just do some primary damage. We're going to back up to the Hive Realm. This is where we fought earlier with the Ogre, but obviously all the Hive enemies despawned, which is good. And we're just going to back all the way up. In theory, these Unstoppables could chase you all the way to the elevator. That could actually be a thing, but obviously we're not going to do that. But the reason why we're doing this is so that obviously we don't die, because you know they can do a lot of damage to you. And just micromanaging the champs, really easy. Be careful as well the amount of damage that they do. So using the arena to your advantage. Don't let them boop you into a wall. Got another stun here. I'm not wanting to use the rocket. I don't think I do, because he's weak enough to be finished. So it would be a waste of an ammo shot here if we did use a rocket. So we'll just use kinetic tremors. It's actually really good. Once you get the radiant plus kinetic tremors, you do quite a bit of damage to a champ. So that's actually a good option as well for us if we don't feel like using heavy on a champ or finishing them. So this little bit we just clear the thrall. Just be careful, because they can ambush you really easy. We'll pop a healer nade. There is total 4 champs now left. 2 unstops, 2 overloads. So we're going to prioritize heavy for the overloads, and then just well, it depends on what drops we get. We currently have 5 ammo with a brick on the floor, so we're actually starting to do decent again for ammo. So actually 8, so we're doing decent. Plus we've got a super to use, right? So we're going to end up using a super. As you push to the 2 unstoppables, one of the void shields pushes you. This is a good opportunity to kill him. The void shield is annoying, because while you're dealing with the unstoppables, the void shield will try to freeze you. There's 1 left and 1 right. Try and kill the one that you get for free, and then rocket the other one. You may as well just get rid of him, because it takes too long to take him down with primaries. So what I'm doing here is, it's an advanced technique. Did you see it? It was probably happening that quick you might have missed, but I stunned 1 champ and left 1 champ unstunned to then have 1 champ only push us, because the other one's stunned. This gives us time to do a safe golden gunshot without the second one bothering me. So you can do things like that when you're up against double unstops. Why stun both? Stun 1, let the other one push to a good spot for crit. And you can do little things like that. Little tips and tricks about champs. Like, I could make a video about all this stuff, but I really can't. I really don't want to. You know, I'd rather have these nuggets of information in the GM run itself, because it's applicable to the run. It's not my problem if you don't watch the entire run, because the information's still out there for you to see it. So as far as I see it, is my information's still put out there about the champs, just that it's in my runs. So if I know that you've seen it, I'll know that you've watched the run, because you'll comment saying, "Oh, I know about that the tips and tricks about champs." So I'll know that you're somebody that's probably watched the vid. I'm trying to incentivize you to watch it. Whether it's a too long of a video, that's up to you. Whether it's too long for you to watch it or not. But that's why the video is time stamped, for you to skip to the timestamps that you want. So there's no excuse really nowadays. There used to be an excuse on the old GMs. I can understand that watching an hour and a half video, but GMs aren't like that now, and YouTube has changed since then with the timestamps. So it really doesn't matter to me the length of videos that I make now, because the excuse for me is, well, the video's timestamped. So it's there for you to check out the bits that you want. The information's there. I present it in a long format content, because that's what it really is. That's what I specialize in. It's not short format, long format. Although I can do short format, and I have done it in the past. I do have the ability to do it. It's just that I feel it's cheap. I do feel short format's cheap. Like doing a short GM run and split and dissecting it and cutting it up and showing you how to easily do it. I hate that stuff. It is a pet peeve of mine. That doesn't mean other people aren't allowed to do that. They can go ahead and do that. I'm just saying my style of content is this. Long format, unedited, the full run presented to you. That's it. Nothing else, raw footage with commentary over it. That is the style of content that I offer. But some other people like it cut up and all that sort of stuff. Once you start cutting up the run, you don't get a feel for how well they've done in the run. Now, this is the champ. You need to make sure you tag him. The thing about it is when you tag him, he's going to be he's going to enrage. Don't stun him with your overload. Try not to, at least. I think I do here, though. No, I haven't. Oh, I have. It's proc late. Try not to, but ultimately that's what's going to happen. It's RNG based. How long it takes, but eventually will. I've actually analysed. I've actually sat here 5 minutes with the overload in the past and analysed what this overload does. So he will do it. It's just when he does it. Sometimes it's right away, sometimes it's not. Now, on a run in the past, I lost platinum rank because I did stun him, but I waited 30 seconds and then he fell off map and then I didn't get plat. Because there's like a 30-second timer that if you don't do damage again to him, even though you've already tagged him, you lose plat. So every 30 seconds, tag him until he falls off. That is the way to make sure you get kill credit for the champ that I'm talking about. Why he falls off is strange, but I have a theory why he does fall off, this overload. The overload falls off because he's not coded to stand on this area. That's really why. The overload thinks that there's more of a bigger island to stand on to approach you. That's the only conclusion I can come to as why that overload falls off like that. In a fire team, this is important. Just kill him. Don't even wait for him to fall off. Just kill him, because there's 3 of you. You have no excuse. You should be melting them. Melt him with rockets or whatever it is. Just melt him. That way you will protect platinum rank, because there's no other champions after this that you have problems with. It's just that one. This next island can be a bit time consuming depending on what you use, and it was a little bit for me here. The Thrall, if you want to kill him, and you have got Tyranny of Heaven on with the God Roll, which is explosive payload, incandescent, you can actually just use the bow around corners and it'll do damage for you. Look at this. That's actually a really good example of why explosive, well, head, it's called explosive head on a bow, but it's the same deal. That's a good reason why explosive head is still like potentially in the top 5 perks ever made. An explosive head, I don't know why people think it's maybe boring, and it maybe is, but there's a lot of benefits to explosive head, and it's been the most consistent perk ever in PvE in its entire history, dating back to D1. That's how far back we are going. You have fancy perks now like incandescent and stuff, and kinetic tremors, which kinetic tremors is sort of doing what explosive head does, in a sense. But just the ability of extra stunning, like if you have explosive head on a hand cannon, and it's overload hand cannon, you're able to more consistently stun overloads with explosive style weapons. Not only that, if you don't get crits, it's forgiven because the body shot damage is more. It splits the damage into two. But in any case, don't be sleeping on any explosive head weapons. Don't be always thinking vault shot, or incandescent. Incandescent probably is still, well, it is very viable in GMs, but like vault shot isn't really viable, and neither is the void one. It's not as good as explosive head. Like explosive head just works on every enemy in the game. Minor, major, mini boss, boss, rank and file, everything. It's, to be honest, like explosive head, I wanted to make a video about the history of the perk, but it'd be actually really difficult to do. I've toyed with the idea in my mind. It's just whether enough people are interested enough, because I don't think people are. I think people just want the new rules on new stuff, and they want to really build their own arsenal. And I can understand that, but that's why on some weapons I do recommend just run explosive. Just run explosive. Any bows, run explosive if you can. Forget golden tricon. Forget all these trash perks. Explosive. It is by far better than stuff like that. Or one for all. One for all is alright. It's alright. But it's just alright. It's just that. It's good on a planet. But we're not playing on a planet. We're playing in GM. Corrupted. We want explosive. Forget golden tricon. This is what people need to start realizing is perk uptime, not damage buff. Not total damage buff, but perk uptime. Because just because you've got a high damage perk, like let's say surrounded, right, that's offering you a lot of damage, what perk uptime would surrounded be giving me right now? Because I believe there's a surrounded bow that you can get. So if I rock the surrounded bow, highest damage bonus you can get on that bow, right? What the hell is surrounded bow doing for me at range? Think about it. It's doing nothing. It's either 40% buff or no buff. 40% buff some of the time or 0%. What would you rather have? Something that's flinching and stunning enemies from a distance on all enemies, or surrounded? It's obviously common sense. I don't know how easy to say this. It's common sense that explosive head wins for that argument. I'm just giving you a reason why in GMs everything changes. The game is different. It's a complete different game to anything. Even entry level dungeons, it's different to that. GMs is your increased combat circumstance. That's everything's different because you can get killed so much quicker on a GM. Not as quick as you used to, but still quick enough to care about what you're using. So to start this phase, the boss fight, okay, so you want to jump on the front island where Cydia is. It's not Kali, it's Cydia. It's as good as Kali though, isn't it? You activate the enemy spawn, then you jump to this previous island, right? You can stand here and you won't get any messages saying join allies or anything. Well, you will at certain points, but I'm not even going to go into that because it's not even going to happen once because of how we do this. So obviously you want to clear out the enemies as good as you can with incandescent. This is where the bow will shine, because obviously it's got explosive head and incandescent, which that's even better than just explosive on its own, obviously, because you've got two perks then at that point. That's why you should craft this bow. It's very important, but we'll try and get as much chip damage in as we can to the knights. They'll keep backing up though. Just be patient. They will. It's just a case of aggroing them and de-aggroing them. So if I stand all the way at the back of this island, this knight will hide. If you stand at the front of the island, the knight will eventually creep up if his shield is up. You've got to realise how shielded enemies works. Once the shield is taken down, they don't want to push. They don't want to push. Now, one Scion's up, it scared me there. You've got to be careful. Just do a little check before you come out here to make sure all Scions are killed. The orange bars are to be prioritised because they spawn in the duplicates. The orange bars. So 2 shields would take down the boss if you've got solo operator on, and obviously you should have. So we do 1 orb, and what we're going to do is we're going to do our golden gun right away. Right, so we'll take down the shield, acrobat's dodge, and then golden gun. Make sure you get your crit. I didn't. So As a result, I'm going to do a galley. 2 galleys, actual fact. In turn, we actually get more damage than what we should have done there. We've actually surpassed the soft gap of the HP, which is kind of weird, to be honest. Because if we'd just golden gunned with the crit, it would have just been one whole bar. It's funny to me, because we've actually done more damage, and we went for a body shot. But it doesn't matter anyways, because all that matters is your second crit, not your first. Because of the soft damage gate, shall we call it. This is why Golden Gun Nighthawk is the best in class for this, because you see how the HP bar is in chunks, yeah? So it's in 4 quarters, I believe. So we've just done more than a quarter. We shouldn't have been able to do that, but we have. So again, it doesn't matter. If I'd got my crit, I would have only done 1 quarter. So like, just to remind you, I've actually done more damage this way, but it was my fault. I missed my crit. I shouldn't be missing the crit, but it's this boss. The crit spot is small, and you've got to make sure that you're patient with it, because your next 2 crits on that boss must hit. They must hit. It's very important that they do. So we have 2 enemy spawns here as well. That's why you want to get your crit right away. Your damaging right away, because you spawn in the 2 waves at the same time. This speeds up this phase a little bit. It means that we're not dealing with any more adds after this at all on this plate. But obviously you've got 3 quarters left. Yes? Well, a 1 golden gun crit is gonna do 2 quarters. So there'll be 1 quarter left after this. It's a weird thing. It's just how it is. That's why it's so good. But what you need to understand is this is actually skipping a phase on the final plate. This is fantastic. It means you don't need to deal with solo captains at all. This is why I'm recommending that you do it on a solo hunter, just for that fact at all. I'm not saying that you can't do it on a Titan or a Warlock, because I've done it in all 3 classes multiple times, or different elements. So you can, but I'm just saying, as the GM is now, because you can skip a phase on Solo Hunter, it automatically makes it best in slot out of the 3 classes, just because of this. But that doesn't mean that you can't do Dawn Chorus Warlock, or maybe Solo Titan with Splendor Helmet, or Strand Titan, or this build, or Void Hunter. There's all sorts of different combinations that you can do. You can do a Graviton Lance run, all that sort of stuff. You can do it. But I am saying, objectively, for players who are of less skill, this is the easiest way of doing it for them, because you're skipping an extra phase. And everything's consistent. There's no worry of death, really, in the run, as long as you follow the steps. Try not to use Galleon Knights too much, because, well, here's the thing. Only do it when they spray their fire. Because, as far as I'm aware, the Knights won't teleport at that point. So try not to use too much galley, but I am using it, to be fair, because I know that there's some heavy on the floor. So I'll only ever spam it like that if I know that I can go and pick up some heavy. Because you want to go with full... You probably want to go with full heavy after this phase. As a safety measure. Because you are going to want a bit of galley for the next bit. Because there is an overload champ to kill. And a couple of knights. So, again, 2 orbs. Now, you need to understand the cluster mechanic, like the asteroid mechanic. So, you can see that they're spawning, but if you didn't know, the game tells you when they come up. There's a purple tinge to show you, and they spawn in 2 clusters. So, look, there's cluster 1 coming past, and then behind is another tinge to say there's another wave. Then there's a brief period to do DPS to Cydia, without any asteroids spawning in. Which I'm going to do it now, I think. So I'm going to throw, then Acrobat's dodge, then wait for crit, boss behave, we get our crit. That's good. Also stand far back on the island so that Cydia doesn't do the pushback move. Right, that is linked to range. If you go closer to Cydia, She'll do the knockback, and she'll knock you back when you try and do your golden gun crit. It is so vital to understand that you need to stand far back. You don't need to stand up close. Just go back. Then wait for portal and use a healer nade as a backup. If the portal's not behaving or the ads have pushed you, you can't wait for that crit. But look at the damage we just did. So the boss is now a quarter. This is, as I say, really good because it means that we skip a phase of captains. The game gets confused. We skip a game of that, a spawn of that. So this is the most annoying island for me, technically, because there's an overload champ there, right? There's a solar knight and a sniper. Ideally, you would love to kill the sniper and the solar knight from back here. Don't count on Galley doing that though, because he's going to pour out of your shot. And the knight isn't going to spray fire because you're not close enough. See, that's the thing. You've got to realize with some of these enemies, when you closely look at them and look at what they're actually doing, they will only do certain things when you're within combat range of that 20-meter radius. Now, I could go and test a knight and see what the range of that is, how close you need to be a knight, but I haven't got all day to do such things. I know inherently a feel for how the knights work because I've fought them for so long in so many things, especially prophecy with the solar knights. I learned a lot when prophecy came out with the solar knights, and now obviously that was a few years ago now, but it's funny how things from years ago learned are still in the game now. So notice how good Galley done there. We got a stun on the overload and it cleared the overload, the knight and the sniper. This is so good. Very, very good. Seriously, top marks for it. It's a 10 out of 10 weapon for overloads. Just because of the accessibility, double rocket that it does. You don't mind spending 2 rockets to get a stun on an overload. A critical overload, but bear in mind as well. That island is the most awkward one. The other islands are really just patience at that point. I would say from now on, when you get to the final phase, you probably need 2 rockets max, or maybe 4 as if you miss your crit. Because if you do miss your crit, you're gonna need 2 Galley to clean up kill. And there is a chance, it doesn't matter how good you are, there is times when you will miss a crit, especially if things go against you. It can happen. So if you miss your crit and only get a body shot, you need to clean up Cydia with 2 rockets. The reason why I know that is because I failed on the first phase, didn't I? But what did we learn from that? You will still do a quarter damage with a body shot golden gun and 2 rockets. So on one hand we messed up, but on another hand we realized a plan B option for final phase. That's what you do. You learn from little mistakes. You learn from it because then you realize, oh, there's a backup plan there, and that the backup plan is to save 2 rockets just in case the crit is not achieved for whatever reason. But you should hit it, providing that you follow a couple of steps with Cydia's AI pattern when you get to final phase, because there is some tips there as well. So there is things you can do to avoid getting knocked back during crit. Doing your crit. So there is some steps. It isn't just a case of, oh, well, the game was bad to you there. It isn't always the case. Sometimes it is just maybe you didn't follow steps of what you should have done. And I feel as though when you're in a fire team, you won't really learn Cydia, especially the final island. A lot of people don't know how to play that island because they've never been there long enough to really see what Cydia does. Because generally in a fire team it's a bit of a cluster. Get a well down, get this down, right? Just melt her, get rid of this phase. Because the island itself is awkward to play on. There's rocks in mid, they can knock you off map. Cydia can knock you off map. The Scions can kill you easily if they multiply out of control. And the captains are deadly on this phase. Like, these captains in particular are very difficult to deal with if you mess up or didn't have heavy or something. Which is why I generally like a Roman super for corrupted, just for that phase in itself. But we skip that phase because we've already done the damage. So all we need to do is get a crit, and we're done with this fight. So we've got the champ weak enough. We've got 4 rockets, which is good because we want 2 rockets for Sion. You want to be using rockets, not your bow. It's going to be too slow for ag clear. Just the rockets. So you're going to do 2 rockets for an ag clear, which Gallies does a good job of doing that with the Wolfpack rounds. And then we've got a 2 rocket reserve if we was to miss crit. We don't, but this is how you would play as a fail-safe plan. You always need a fail-safe plan. If you don't have a fail-safe plan, then the chances on a run of you dying are probably increased because you're under pressure, and it's a solo GM. So you always do the encounter in such a way that it's fail-safed. These entire runs that I've been doing for years are based on a fail-safe run. A lot of the times, unless it's a more of a risky run that I'm doing with a different loadout. This isn't that at all. This run is a more of a safe run for people to copy, right? For them to have a good time at having a solo GM in this. Remember, it's 2 orbs, so we're waiting for Healer Ned. So if things were to go bad, we have a Healer Ned to rely on, which is what I was waiting on. Have Rocket Launcher equipped, just in case. But obviously we're going to... so position yourself. Wait for City to do a knockback. So she's going to do a knockback right there. Perfect. Pick a pillar, any pillar. Throw a ball, Acrobat's dodge, pop super. Wait for boss to stay still. Get crit. If you miss your crit, then finish up with the 2 galley and you're done. Honestly, not too bad the final island on the Solar Hunter. Solar Hunter is really easy, if I'm being honest. Out of the 3 classes, Solar Hunter is so easy for the boss fight. But that was the solo GM for this. I ended up getting a poor roll on the Slammer. Like it's a solo as well, and I still get a poor roll. So, it is what it is, but that was a solo GM, mate. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.